If your doctor told you to stop eating fruit because you have diabetes, I need you to stop what you're doing and watch this video all the way through, because that advice, however well-meaning, may be one of the most damaging things a diabetic senior can hear. Not because doctors are wrong about blood sugar, they're not, but because lumping all fruit into the same category as a candy bar reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how the diabetic body actually processes natural food. And that misunderstanding has been costing people their health and their quality of life for decades. You've probably felt it, the constant second-guessing at the grocery store, the guilt of reaching for something that grows on a tree, the frustration of trying to eat healthy while feeling like every food you actually enjoy is slowly being stripped away from your plate. You're managing your medications, you're watching your portions, you're doing everything you were told to do. And yet something still feels off, the energy isn't there, the numbers aren't as stable as you'd like, and you're starting to wonder if there's something nobody is telling you. Here's what I want you to hold on to until the end of this video. There is a specific group of fruits, 10 of them, that don't just avoid spiking your blood sugar. They actively work inside your body to lower it, stabilize it, and protect the organs that diabetes most aggressively attacks. The biochemistry behind this is not a wellness trend. It is documented, peer-reviewed science. And by the time this video is over, you will understand exactly why these fruits work, how they work at the cellular level, and how to use them every single day to take back control of your metabolic health. I've spent months going through clinical literature, cross-referencing nutritional biochemistry studies, and distilling everything that is genuinely relevant for people over 60, managing blood sugar. This is not a list I put together in an afternoon. This is the result of serious research, and I'm going to give you every bit of it. Before we dive in, if you're finding this useful, take 2 seconds right now, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video, and give this a thumbs up. It genuinely helps more people like you find this content. And drop a comment below, tell me what country you're watching from. I'd love to know where our community is tuning in from around the world. Hold on a second. Before we go any further, I've put something together for you. It's called the Glucose Paradox. It's a free guide on blood sugar and diabetes, and you can grab it for free through the link in the description. I'm telling you this now because I want you to finish this video with a concrete tool in your hands. To get it right away, just click the link in the description, head over to my site, and drop your email. You'll receive the guide in your inbox a few minutes later. But I don't want to take up any more of your time. Let's get back to the video. Let's start with the science that makes this all possible. Because without understanding the mechanism, you're just following instructions. And I don't want that for you. I want you to understand what's happening inside your body so completely that you can make smart decisions for yourself every single day. When you eat a carbohydrate, any carbohydrate, your digestive system breaks it down into glucose. That glucose enters your bloodstream, your blood sugar rises, and your pancreas releases insulin to shuttle that glucose into your cells. In a healthy metabolic system, this process is fast, clean, and efficient. In a diabetic or insulin-resistant system, one or both parts of that equation are broken. Either the pancreas isn't producing enough insulin, or the cells have become resistant to its signal. Glucose piles up in the bloodstream, and sustained high blood glucose damages blood vessels, nerves, kidneys, and eyes over time. Now here is where most conventional dietary advice fails seniors. It treats the glycemic index of a food as the only variable that matters. High sugar content equals bad. End of story. But that is an oversimplification so dramatic that it borders on negligence. Because what determines how a food actually affects your blood sugar is not just how much sugar it contains, it is the entire biochemical package that sugar arrives with. The fiber, the polyphenols, the antioxidants, the enzymes, the fat content. All of these factors modulate how quickly glucose is absorbed, how your insulin receptors respond, and how your liver processes the metabolic load. Whole fruit, in almost every case, delivers sugar wrapped inside one of the most sophisticated natural buffering systems that exists in food. And for diabetics over 60, whose inflammation levels are typically elevated, whose gut microbiome diversity has often declined, and whose cellular insulin sensitivity has been compromised over years, these buffering compounds are not just helpful. they are potentially transformative. Let's go through the 10 fruits you should be eating, and let's do it properly. Strawberries are, by almost every measurable metric, the most powerful fruit a diabetic can eat. Their glycemic index is remarkably low, around 40, meaning the glucose they contain enters your bloodstream slowly, without triggering a sharp insulin spike. But the more important story is what their polyphenols and anthocyanins do at the cellular level. Anthocyanins are the pigments that give strawberries their deep red color, and they are extraordinarily active in the metabolic pathways that regulate glucose. Studies have shown that anthocyanin consumption directly improves insulin sensitivity in skeletal muscle cells by upregulating GLUT4 transporter proteins. These are the molecular doorways through transporter proteins. These are the molecular doorways through which glucose enters muscle tissue. When GLUT4 activity increases, your cells become better at pulling glucose out of the bloodstream and using it for energy. Additionally, the polyphenols in strawberries inhibit certain enzymes in the small intestine, specifically alpha-glucosidase and alpha-amylase, that are responsible for breaking down complex carbohydrates into simple sugars. When these enzymes are partially inhibited, the rate of glucose absorption slows dramatically. This is incidentally the exact mechanism targeted by some prescription diabetes medications. Cranberries, the small tart red berries often overlooked in favor of their sweetened juice counterpart, are extraordinary for diabetic cardiovascular health. Diabetes dramatically increases the risk of atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque inside arterial walls. Cranberries contain a dense concentration of proanthocyanidins, a class of flavonoids that prevent LDL cholesterol from oxidizing and adhering to arterial walls. At the same time, they reduce inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein, which is chronically elevated in diabetics. Their glycemic impact is minimal, and their protective effect on the vascular endothelium, the thin cellular lining of your blood vessels, is backed by multiple clinical trials. For seniors whose cardiovascular risk is already elevated by their diabetes diagnosis, cranberries belong in your diet consistently. Eat them whole, toss them into salads, or mix them into plain yogurt. Just avoid the sweetened juice, which strips away the fiber and floods the system with added sugar. Papaya is a fruit that does something almost no other food does. It contains papain, a proteolytic enzyme that actively supports the digestive breakdown of proteins in your small intestine. Why does this matter for blood sugar? Because when digestion is inefficient, undigested food particles create inflammatory responses in the gut lining, which in turn raise systemic inflammation and impair insulin signaling. A cleaner, more efficient digestive process means less metabolic stress on the pancreas. Papaya is also rich in beta-carotene, a precursor to vitamin A, which is critically important for protecting the retinal cells in your eyes. Diabetic retinopathy, one of the leading causes of blindness in seniors, occurs when sustained high blood sugar damages the tiny capillaries that feed your retina. The antioxidant compounds in papaya form a direct line of biochemical defense against this kind of oxidative damage. Cherries are remarkable, for a reason that most diabetes content never discusses. They contain one of the highest concentrations of naturally occurring melatonin found in any food. Melatonin is primarily known as a sleep hormone, but its role in metabolic regulation is vastly underappreciated. Research has shown that melatonin receptors exist on pancreatic beta cells, the same cells responsible for producing insulin. Adequate melatonin signaling supports the circadian rhythm of insulin secretion, which means that blood sugar regulation at night, during the fasting hours when your liver is processing glycogen, is significantly improved in people who have adequate melatonin activity. Cherries also contain anthocyanins that suppress the activity of inflammatory cytokines, proteins like TNF-alpha and IL-6 that are chronically elevated in type 2 diabetes and actively worsen insulin resistance over time. Eating a serving of fresh cherries in the evening supports both your sleep quality and your overnight metabolic stability simultaneously. Guava is not always easy to find in American grocery stores, but it is worth seeking out. A single guava contains more vitamin C than an orange, and for diabetics this matters enormously. Vitamin C competes with glucose for entry into cells via the same transporter proteins. When blood sugar is chronically elevated, glucose wins that competition, leaving cells depleted of vitamin C and vulnerable to oxidative stress. Supplementing with food sources of vitamin C helps rebalance this dynamic. Guava also contains significant quantities of soluble fiber, which forms a viscous gel in the small intestine that slows the passage of glucose into the bloodstream. Clinical studies in populations with elevated fasting blood sugar have shown that regular guava consumption is associated with meaningful reductions in fasting glucose levels, sometimes in the fasting range of 10 to 15%, over several weeks of consistent intake. Blueberries deserve their own chapter in any serious discussion of diabetic nutrition, and here is the reason. They are one of the most well-studied foods in the entire field of insulin resistance research. The specific anthocyanin profile of blueberries, particularly the compounds delphinidin and malvidin, has been shown in multiple randomized controlled trials to improve whole-body insulin sensitivity. The mechanism involves the activation of AMPK, an enzyme that functions like a master metabolic switch in your cells. When AMPK is activated, your cells become dramatically more responsive to insulin signals, and glucose uptake improves even in the presence of insulin resistance. For seniors who have been told their cells are simply not responding to insulin properly, blueberries are not a small dietary tweak. They are a biochemically active intervention. Grapefruit acts on the liver in a way that is genuinely unique among fruits. The compound naringin, a flavonone found in high concentrations in grapefruit, has been shown to activate a liver signaling pathway that mimics the effects of both metformin and exercise simultaneously. It reduces hepatic glucose output, which is the liver's tendency to release stored glucose into the bloodstream during fasting, and it improves the liver's ability to oxidize fatty acids. For seniors with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is extremely common in type 2 diabetics and dramatically worsens insulin resistance, naringenin's hepatoprotective effects are particularly meaningful. One critically important caution: grapefruit and its juice can interfere with the metabolism of several commonly prescribed medications, including some statins, certain blood pressure drugs, and some diabetes medications. Please speak with your physician before adding grapefruit to your regular diet if you are on any prescription medications. The biology is powerful, but it must be used safely. Pears are one of the highest fiber fruits available, and fiber, particularly the combination of soluble and insoluble fiber found in a ripe pear with its skin intact, functions as a genuine physiological filter for blood sugar. Soluble fiber dissolves in water to form a thick, gel-like substance in your digestive tract that physically impedes the rate at which glucose molecules can cross the intestinal wall into the bloodstream. This mechanical slowing of glucose absorption is remarkably effective. A single medium pear, with its skin, contains approximately 5.5 grams of fiber, enough to meaningfully extend the post-meal glucose absorption window and reduce the peak blood sugar response after eating. Insoluble fiber, meanwhile, feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut microbiome, and a healthy microbiome is increasingly understood to be a critical regulator of systemic inflammation and, by extension, insulin sensitivity. Avocado is, technically and botanically, a fruit, and it may be the single most strategically useful addition to a diabetic senior's diet. Unlike every other fruit on this list, avocado contains almost no sugar. What it contains instead is an extraordinary concentration of monounsaturated fatty acids, primarily oleic acid, the same compound that makes olive oil so celebrated in cardiovascular research. Monounsaturated fats do not spike blood sugar, but more importantly, they actively improve the fluidity and responsiveness of cell membranes, which are the physical structures that insulin receptor proteins sit within. When cell membranes are enriched with healthy monounsaturated fats, insulin receptors function more efficiently. They bind insulin more readily and trigger a stronger glucose uptake signal inside the cell. Eating avocado, alongside other carbohydrate-containing foods, literally makes those foods less glycemically impactful by improving the cellular machinery that processes the resulting glucose. Green apple, specifically the green variety, and specifically eaten with its skin, delivers a compound called pectinase substrate, but more importantly, it is rich in pectin itself, a form of soluble fiber that forms extraordinarily effective gels in the gastrointestinal tract. The pectin in green apple skin has been shown to bind to glucose molecules in the digestive tract, effectively trapping a portion of the meal's sugar content before it can be absorbed. The result is a lower and slower post-meal glucose curve. Green apples also contain quercetin in their skin, a flavonoid with potent anti-inflammatory and anti-diabetic properties that has been shown in preclinical studies to inhibit glucose absorption at the intestinal level and to protect pancreatic beta cells from oxidative damage. Always eat your green apple whole, with the skin on, and never substitute it with apple juice. Now, one of the most powerful ways to use these fruits is to combine several of them into what I call a vital fruit blend. Mix strawberries, blueberries, and sliced pear into a bowl. Add a few cranberries, top with sliced avocado. Eat it whole, not blended, not juiced. Chew it thoroughly. This combination delivers anthocyanins, soluble fiber, monounsaturated fats, and flavonoids in a single meal that activates multiple simultaneous blood sugar regulating mechanisms in your body. It is not a smoothie. It is not a supplement. It is food working the way food is supposed to work. The single most important rule across all 10 of these fruits is this: eat them whole. The fiber is the architecture that makes all of it work. The moment you extract the juice and discard the pulp, you are left with sugar water. You lose the enzymatic activity. You lose the gel-forming soluble fiber. You lose the polyphenols bound to the fiber matrix. Juicing fruit for a diabetic is not a health choice. It is the removal of everything that makes fruit safe and therapeutic for blood sugar, leaving behind only what raises it. These fruits are tools, powerful, biochemically active tools, but they work alongside your medications, not instead of them. They work alongside your physician's guidance, not around it. The goal here is to give your body every possible natural advantage in the fight to stabilize your blood sugar, and the science is unambiguous that these 10 fruits, eaten consistently, whole, and as part of a balanced diet, provide exactly that. You came to this video because something in your health isn't where you want it to be. Maybe your numbers have been creeping up. Maybe you feel like the options you've been given are narrowing. I want you to leave here feeling the opposite of that. Because the truth is, the more clearly you understand your own biology, the more agency you have. And agency, the ability to make informed, confident choices about your own health, is something nobody can take from you. And hey, if you made it all the way here, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Hit the like button to let me know this was worth your time. And leave a comment below. Tell me what country you're watching from. Seriously, I read every single one, and it means a lot to see how far this community reaches. You know what the problem is with diabetes and high blood sugar? Most people find out way too late, and by the time they do, they have no idea where to even start. That's why I decided to create a free guide. It's called The Glucose Paradox, and inside, you'll find everything you wish you'd known sooner. I'll explain how blood sugar actually works, and why your body sometimes reacts the exact opposite way you'd expect. That's why it's called a paradox. I've also included concrete habits you can start changing right now, even if you know zero about nutrition or medicine. It's free. You can download it in a second. And it might be the single most useful thing you do for your health today. Just click the link in the description to head to the site, drop your email, and get the guide sent straight to you. Don't put this off.